Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and this is, as titled, a quick video discussing my most fundamental habit and why I find it so important, what it's like to cultivate and to continue, and how this singular habit actually develops and evolves into and through every other hobby, habit, routine, practice that I embody, as this eternal student that I like to sort of describe myself as, describe all of us as, really. It's whether or not we take sovereign ownership of the journey and learning or not, whether we recognize and we actively choose to teach and learn or not, is kind of irrelevant, because we are all excuse me students and teachers forevermore. And so, yeah, bringing in this topic, I have been trying to introduce and talk about my own sort of routines, my own hobbies or habits that I have and cultivate in order to share with others, but also to sort of just speak out on my own, to look back at over the years, at least, a lot of the things that I'm going to speak about. Oh wait, no, this I'm just talking about my one. I made another video, and also I tried to make this other video about sort of my daily routine. I'm going to do a blog first, I've decided, because I just got talking for over an hour. I have, maybe I'll air the video. It's like as a background, sort of before the scenes thing at some point. If anybody would be interested in listening to me talk for over an hour about just my personal things that I do. It's after I finished it, I thought, wow, that was for me. A lot of the things, a lot of the teachings, videos, the workbooks, courses, the topics that I cover are for me, as a student is. I direct my learning is what I like to be learning about and what I am right now learning through, as we all do, Of course, there's plenty of places where we hold a teacher's position or place of authority, or you have amassed a cultivated spectrum of information and knowledge around topics, and you can stand sort of alone in these certain areas. All of us share these equal part of the partnership, dual sides of the coin of the student and teacher. And if we accept that, it's much more comfortable instead of trying to force some kind of dynamics. But anyways, now I'm off on a tangent about systems and things. Let's bring it back to what I'm here to talk about, because I was hoping to be quick this morning too. The most fundamental hobby or habit that I'm cultivating and have been, is this new, deeper way of moving through each moment in my life, each literal second that I am alive. It's hard to describe, and I don't really have a name for it, I like to call it myself, living life awake, or living life alive, maybe. Conscious awareness is really what I'm speaking about, that I have a good term for, that I feel it embodies. But the fact of the matter is that living through your eyes, alive, God sees the world through your eyes. The source creation, the creator, we are creator consciousness, even if you don't want the dynamic of God in there, or she said the God word, oh my gosh. Whatever you want to look at as the connectivity, as infinite intelligence, your higher self, it doesn't even, it can be anything and everything. It is all things. It's infinite in itself. The beauty is the choices that we get to individually make, the tailor fitting. And so tailor fitting each moment in my day to myself is seriously been the most eye-opening, heart-opening, soul-opening experience over the last maybe 2 to 3 years. I have really stepped into and made it a part of my routines, practices, my habits, my hobbies, to try to be more in the moment, consciously. And the thing that I like to speak about it, and the thing that inspired me to sort of get into this, life as a synchronicity walk. Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I might title it as. I haven't decided. Sorry, half of my brain is off thinking about good terms to even define to people what I'm talking about here. But basically, it's like living in the flow, in the zen, in the moment, to the point where you're actually consciously listening. And in the fact that you're receptive and aware enough to listen and observing around you, it allows a different dynamic of communication. You become a co-creator within this sort of third-party external space that, you know, we live within, and we all operate out here in, and share and build and manifest and move through. And so taking ownership of that, really stepping into every moment knowing of that, or trying to remember it, because of course you get called away, of course you get on autopilot. There's times that there's, you know, negative disruptions and catalysts and all types of things to where it's emotional negativities that you have to alchemize and bring back to harmonious neutrality and positivity. And that in itself is a whole other sort of being alive in the moment and dealing with things as they come up. There's no more hiding it for later. There's no more put it off in a corner. There's no more, oh, I'll skirt around this, or I hope they don't address that. It's, oh no, why don't I actually want to do that? Why am I skirting around this? Let me get at that right now. Oh, I've dropped these crumbs all over the place. Let me get them right now. You know, that living in the moment, knowing what's happening in each moment, and taking action that needs to happen in each moment. Oh, the sun's starting to come out. So nice. It's been kind of cloudy this morning. But taking accountability in the moment in those kind of ways. Now, it's sort of convoluted and it sounds chaotic. I've sort of brought it forth in a bit of a disorganized fashion, but the thing that led me to this, and maybe to help understand it just slightly better for anyone who's new, or maybe you've just clicked on this and you're not familiar with me at all, so this could be a lot to sort of actually dump on a video for sort of beginners or anyone who's unfamiliar. But anyone can learn anything. We can all listen and absorb what we're ready to hear, you know, at that time. We're all here for our own listening is kind of what I'm trying to say, I guess. And so no matter who and what, we'll get something out of it. So for new people to my channel, or for people who are not new but aren't as old as who have seen maybe my system stuff a couple of years ago, like I said, this is the seeds of the fruit of the tree right now, which is sort of the cultivating the living life alive practice. Now the seeds look like systems work, and understanding that I myself am this multifaceted, multidimensional being, of course, and we see this stuff everywhere, of course, you know, and people are like, but what does that mean? Or they get this little bit of it, or they have their own kind of ideas of what that means. So briefly for me, let me explain mine, and well, it's not just mine, but the understandings that I break it down to, which is understanding first and foremost that we are energetic beings. We feel emotions, everything changes. Just like my light keeps getting worse and worse, or perhaps my camera's actually fading. That could be what's happening too. Sometimes my camera is breaking, and so it just randomly darkens and then stops working. So hopefully that's not happening. Anyways, being energetic beings with polarity, duality around us, contrasting things, and all of this, it's key to that's the key to understanding a fundamental rule of balancing. And so that tells us that we are polar beings. And that's the power of choice. And now, which way do you want to cultivate and move? Do you want to move towards positivity, or do you want to move towards negativity? Because, yeah, of course, there's two choices, right? And we see this with even electricity and the electric body and things that display the laws quite clearly. But I won't get into all of that anyways right now. But anyways, point being that the first initial thing is that we are these energetic beings, and we have a toroidal. Okay, and many people are aware of auras and energy around us, and even if you've only had EEGs or EKGs or any of these kind of resonant testings, you know, we are beings of resonance, vibrations, light and energy, plasma and water. So we have these dualistic happenings of positive and negative charges working together, or, you know, or they don't work together and they're opposing each other. But to know that the key is balancing here. It's about making choices and moving forward. That's it. Not so much as trying to tie us down to any certain choices, but just to make them and learn. And that happens with the toroidal and the energy systems, and we are a three-part system. Now, to understand what is the three-part system, it's a mind, body, spirit. Of course, we've heard this everywhere. It's displayed through all esoteric and occult knowledge, through all timelines. It's truth. But again, much like we hear about the Taurus, or we hear about all of these other things, polarity, duality, it's like multidimensionality. What does that really mean to me? How do I make that in my life? You know? To become alive in each of these layers. Now, to own what is the body, the mind, and the spirit systems, and what do they look like? Where is their dominion? What kind of sensory inputs, what kind of different procedures and processes, functionalities, and templates are available to each one of those? They come together in the Great Triad, and of course we have the Holy Trinity explained in many different ways to showcase this. But we are, each one of us, our own beautiful orchestration of that together. And they come together in many different ways as well. And I have whole 40 videos, 40 to 60, I can't remember how many, somewhere in between there. A 6-level series teaching all about this kind of stuff and systems. So through learning and teaching and working through that kind of stuff a few years ago, I really began to learn to implement the functionalities and have great conversation within, speak to all the bosses, within myself, cultivate communion and conversation, because they speak languages that I don't know if they were once fluently spoken by me, you know, the great me, the over observer here. But when I got down in there through meditation and seeking and listening, I realized it was not as fluent as I thought it was. It's more like learning a new language, or learning a language that I have forgot, you know. And I try to teach my son's Spanish, homeschooling, and I'm trying to remember Spanish that I did 15, 20 years ago. You know, it's like, but it's not to say that it can't be relearned. And when you sit and listen, and when I did, and I gave myself the space and time going through each one of these layers, it's infinite work began, you know, it's just so much different changes and manifestations and wonderful shifts happened. And so that, coming alive in that and recognizing those within myself, that I am part of this system, that it is all about just exchange and listening, observing and responding, and giving myself time to reflect on those 3 different versions of self, understanding that they're doing this polarity dance within each other. And then yet they all 3 come together in this great entanglement, interconnected ways that the better it gets, the better it gets. The more that we help each other, they help each other inside there, the bosses, the more communication gets better, and the more productivity within the managers and workers underneath each boss got better and gets better, you know? And the final layer here, it's almost 15 minutes, but I believe me, if you're new, this is quick for me. This is a quick video. The final layer in understanding that yes, it's a dualistic polarity happenings, and then yes, it does bring it into the three, which of course the flow, the back and forth of the systems is not even two, it's really three, because it brings in the flow and the exchange and it makes the three. But you have to have, of course, the two first. But once we understand that basic, and you can sort of wrap your head around the infinite space created, really the system potentials within you, what the Taurus tool is, that's for this makeup is a template for creator consciousness, for the role of the observer. Like I said, the up here CEO, ultimate boss, sort of underneath it sees the three bosses of mind, body, spirit. And mind, body, spirit, each underneath them have managers and workers in their own aspects that control many different parts of our bodies and our makeup of our tools. That boundary of what distinction gets made of who the CEO is, who the company is, and who the workers are, is set by who chooses to observe and where you choose to observe at, right? So systems are all around us, and there's all different versions of expressions of systems coming together, but they all always look like that, and they can always be broken down and understood like that. So it's very helpful to have that in a tool belt when we try to make this live action happenings in our world, because we can go to our tool belt and say, oh yeah, is this a body thing? Is this a mind thing? Is it a spirit thing? Get in conversation with them, see the feedback from everyone, remember that it's an act of balancing, and then go back to the energetics of it and see where's the stagnation or where's the over amplifications, and then get feedback and do better working to bring it back to a good state of neutrality for yourself. So that's kind of the first chunk of it. But the second chunk is, where are we applying this work to? And when we can understand that the applications themselves inside our beautiful mind, body, spirit vessel can be looked at in a wonderful way, that I like to call it the energetic tower. I also have meditation series on these. I also have a great educational series, walk through a couple of videos about this. If this is really interesting to you, I'll put links in the description. But it's so basic, and it's such a template that I think others can hear it and go run wild in their own world with it, especially if you have just even a brief contact already with meditation or with chakra centers and energy centers. If you already sort of know this kind of stuff, you can take this tower template and go run wild in your own practice. You don't even need to watch my videos. You take it and make it your own. Really, it's what it's supposed to be. So when you know the work that needs to be done and how to apply the work by breaking it into these three bodies and layers and seeing what's happening in there, let's talk about where the happenings are happening, right? Which is these, you can look at it as the 7 centers within the tower. And they follow the regular chakra model, and just like a rainbow follows, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. The floors match that, and the tower reflects the same concepts that all the chakras even reflect. But when we think of it in ourselves, and we remember that we can use our imagination, we're great creator consciousness, this is the fun, to bring the funness back into life, to be alive in the moment, right? We are really meant to enjoy life and to have joy and imagine and adventure and things. And we can get such deep gratification and such excitement, and you will find such manyness and discovery when you take the time to go adventure within yourself and observe what happens and let things cultivate and let your inner child, run wild in there. And I forgot to bring up sort of about the Holy Trinity within the self, of course. Divine masculine, divine feminine, divine inner child is another part of this great cultivation of the bosses and the layers and who's working where and what kind of work's being done for what purposes. To get in touch with those archetypes within is another whole wonderful working and application. They're never ending. You don't just do it once either. They're live beings within you. Every day is different. Every moment they are different. Each level and floor, when you go into these places within yourself, in the working even, is different. And when we do fine tuning in the working within ourselves, the instrument that we are, and we use the triad tool, the sort of Taurus tool energy work within each floor, you find divine prismatic alchemy, and you'll troubleshoot better, you'll problem solve better, people will like you better, you'll be happier, you'll like yourself 100% better. When we love ourselves, the world loves us back. It's, you know, we are a great reflection. So do the good work for yourself inside, and then you'll see, and I have seen great reflections out there that, you know, anyways, if you're not familiar, let me give just a rundown quickly of the centers for anyone who just isn't familiar and is interested, just in case. We have the root, the first center, and that's the color red, and sort of like, I like to call it the root cellar, and it has to do with the ancestors and ancestry grounded in the ground, and sort of just like a cellar, right? The root cellar where we put things at the house. It's underground. It's all of those things. Perfect. The next floor above it is going to be the intimate spaces. It's your bedrooms. It's your place that if you had an art studio or you had some workshop or some kind of place, those passions that you're really privately motivated for, they require this sort of very intimate and direct, very close quarters to you and your heart. Things like that are in the second floor and level. Also, we know the sacral chakra, and it's orange, and next up is the third floor, and that is the home offices. It's your boss space. It's your solar plexus and ego center. It's yellow up here in the abdomen, but also it's here in the tower. It's that boss. It's a place where you have your home office, or you could even see it as a little industry inside you with a manager's office overlooking, workers. I like to see it as that way sometimes, and it has to do with how we assert ourselves in the world and how we cast dominion over space, how we manage our lives, and how we interact with external space around us as well. And then above that we have the heart, and that is the heart chakra, of course, green. I see it as the sanctuary, the throne room, an emerald palace in a castle, and I like to have the divine throne of masculine and feminine here in this area. You can see it as an orchestra hall or a sanctuary. It doesn't have to be a church or have religious reverence, but if that's for you, that's definitely the place and space for it. And then above that we have the throat center in the throat, and I like to see this as great balcony, porches, place to overlook, to walk. Sometimes it can be even like the soldiers sort of, I forget the word for it now, totally blanking. I'm not turrets, but sort of like turrets, in those sort of places where the archers would stand, and there's very small like lookout places. That can be what the throat center is sometimes. We're blocked, but also color is blue, and it's really to be out in the open space. That's for the tower and for the energetic work. If you are seeing, mostly blocks and just slits to the outside world here, know that the organic encouragement is to be wide open in the sky and to be a beautiful blue sky, no clouds, to have beautiful winds, fresh breeze, your favorite day out there. True and honest and free is the name of the game for the throat center. And then we have up above it is the third eye, of course. Indigo is the color. I like to see it as a great observatory, a control panel. I see the stars as the main focus here, a night sky usually, telescopes and all types of different observer and recording, processing also. Sometimes I see it like a control panel, like in sort of would be a airplane or a spaceship sort of thing, if you vibe with that. But to have lots of notifications, and sort of the boss, the overseer of the brain here sits in the mind's eye. That's the themes and the concept up here, and the boss is thusly organized and focused on that kind of managerial work and oversight and observation and monitors and cameras and that kind of thing. And yes, there's that, but there's also the great external focus of what's out there. It's the mind's eye, and the third eye is very much getting up into the higher centers, which is connected to more external higher self, the ether, the void, but then we get to that to the crown, but creator source, and conscious collective, the Akashic, sort of the organic cloud of humanity is really the third eye space. Imagination space is what I like to see also as sort of a side door here at the boss's office, and the control panel is like imagination space, and it looks like, you know, a kids center or something. I don't even know, but you go in there and have great fun, whatever you want in there, ever expanding, which is again what makes sense for it to be there. Now we get into up and out, what I call sort of the Willy Wonka crystal elevator up glass, up and out, and that's the crown. And of course the color is violet, and I like to see that as just like I expressed, but sort of as the antenna, because we are these receptors, receivers, transmitting beings, and we are antennas of sorts. And so a great spire on the top of the tower is really where visually I will claim that to be the seventh top image for the tower center. But the feelings of it and the inspiration that comes through the boss of it is like this great exploration of up and out, and the void, you know, connectivity to source, and greatest bigger picture. Now that I've gone, now it's not a quick video, it's a standard almost half an hour for me at least. I've got to run at least a half hour, I guess. But thank you so much for listening to this sort of roundabout ramble about my most fundamental hobby and habit, which is connecting into the layers of myself and living life awake, and letting the creator consciousness really grow and evolve and be the most aware that I can. So yeah, not the best articulated video from me, but it's a difficult topic to get out there, and I've tried a couple of different times, so I think I might just stick with this and say, perhaps if you're interested in more, like I said, I'll drop some of the video links on things that I've already done that led me to this. And when I do finish up the blog of my actual sort of routines, that I, much like I take the template of the triad and the Taurus tool and the tower and use the work within, throughout my day and my already staple routines that I do, like breath work and yoga and exercise and sun gazing and eating and just living my life. I have taken all of that and trying to do those practices from those places with all of those bosses, sort of like, the work it's little chunks at a time, you know, because like I've said, this is a couple of years into integrating throughout and testing the waters and hearing what they're saying and allowing each one to sort of have different times to the reins, and then learning better integration. And not to say that I'm at some sort of peak, I don't think there's ever a peak, but the work is so gratifying, and finding such good responses that I just that I have to share. And I think just like sometimes things, when we get started or try to explain something new or get started with a new practice, we find something we really like, or we get this sort of inspiration. Just being brave enough to fumble through it a couple of times, first here and first there and this way and that way, that will bring me out to a better explanation in it later. But I could never get to that better explanation later the first time, you know, but so why try to, you know, why not just do the littlest sort of best that you can at the moment, offer it up and say that, yeah, this is, you know, just a sketch. But later on, perhaps have a more direct image to offer that's a little clearer. So always feel free to check out next time, see what's happening with me. You can find me directly on my website, amariespeaks.com. Of course, there's a bunch of stuff about my own content and myself personally, but I also have a tools page, and that is free forever, always changing and updating things over there. But it's third-party references, links, videos to information that I have found myself to be valuable in all of those different ways. So if you're looking for sort of student information, if you're looking to cultivate your studentship and interested in things that have inspired me, you can always find those over there on amariespeaks.com/tools. Other than that, if you want to keep up with sort of what I'm doing, I'm on Telegram, and you can find me over there at Amarie Speaks. Thank you so much for giving me your time and for listening to my roundabout explanation about my most fundamental hobby and habit, trying to cultivate a good communion within myself. I hope to inspire others to do the same. If you are, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave comments if that's your thing for others to see. It's always nice for us to know that there's real organic life out there in internet land still listening and responding. But if not, feel free to send me messages or emails. My email's always in the description if you're looking for it. And yeah, I'll catch you around next time.